2, 1. Welcome back. We're doing another one of the Wheels in Motion podcasts. This is actually really fun because we're driving up the old Comstock Highway, which it runs between Mountain House, Carson City, Nevada, and Virginia City. And if you haven't heard of Virginia City, you're probably from another country or you've been in a coma your entire life.
Yeah.
It would be my guess. I mean, we're driving up. It's just a pretty drive, and we decided today would be a great day to drive up here. And there's not a cloud in the sky. Geez, this is great,
it's nice
isn't it?
out today. It's going to be warm today, but it's nice out now.
Yeah, half the time we talk about music, sometimes we talk about cars, and the subject just kind of seems to come to us organically, one way or the other. And we were talking about, of course, our mascot on the show is Frank the Truck, my old yellow Chevy, and talking about the real explosion of how popular C-10 pickups are, specifically the late, blooming of the square body, which is now 30 years old.
Oh,
no, I mean the newest square body.
Yeah.
And they are getting increasingly difficult to find nice, usable short beds.
Yeah, short beds become one of those vehicles that's just so difficult to find.
We got to pull over for an ambulance here.
Ambulance comes.
So we're not panic stopping here, but I see the lights coming, so just bear with us for a moment while the emergency crew gets by.
Do the right thing and let them go.
Yes, absolutely. They are a flying too. So that's never a good thing. But we're out of their way, back on track.
Yeah, it's just short bed of any truck is a classic vehicle. They're just,
Oh yeah,
they're so cool. But that whole 73 to 86, 7 Chevy,
yeah,
square body, short bed, two-wheel drive,
yeah,
obviously, it's just getting so hard to find. And it used to be they were sitting around, you could find them. Now people are making long beds into short beds, and even long beds are cool. They have all the classic attributes of some of the muscle cars that are becoming unobtainable unless it's huge money. So you can build a V8 powered car, good brakes, you can make them handle pretty well, they look good, they make everything on earth to build a new one almost. So all the replacement parts are easily found, relatively inexpensive, and you can find them sitting around. Short beds, another story. They've just become so popular, it's amazing.
That was just up until a couple of years ago. I can even remember out where I live in the valley, there was short bed squares everywhere.
Oh yeah,
and they disappeared almost overnight. And I actually feel fortunate to have one I'm doing as a project right now, and it's a long bed to short bed, but it's not actually a shortening of the frame. It's rather
combining two trucks.
Yeah, basically we're taking the cab and front end off of a long bed 79 GMC fully loaded and putting onto a short bed chassis with a bed that's already been redone, which is really kind of a cool way to do it, I think.
Yeah, it's and you got it. It was such a good deal on that truck that you couldn't have passed it up. So then you had the other one, which was actually yours, then it was mine, and now it's back to being Cody's again.
It's kind of like the 442. It's one of those that just keeps coming back.
It's kind of moved around. It's got a lot of miles on it. It served its purpose. It runs it, run and drove its original big block truck.
But it's in
good shape, cab and body. There's no rust on it. So that cab going on the short bed frame with a very good bed is a great project. And
just the bed alone on that short bed chassis was worth it because they're getting increasingly difficult to find not rusted. And this bed is actually extraordinarily straight and really unrusted.
Yeah.
But we have, all these different styles. That's what I also love about shorties, or not shorties, but C-10 pickups, C-15s, is there's so many different styles you can build. There's trends, and a lot of people like to follow the trends. I tend not to, simply because in 5 years you wind up having to completely re-engineer your truck because that trend is now past.
Well, we kind of fall for the classic mode, whether it be the muscle car thing, or trucks or whatever. It's kind of, you leave them relatively stock, you lower it, put some nice wheels on it, or you got the right stance, you make it drivable, not too radical, and you never really lose on the vehicle because it's just a classic look for it.
Yeah, and during the time we grew up, and you were 10 years ahead of me, but we still both grew up during that time where the 70s and 80s California street truck was the most popular thing on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Lowered 4 to 5 inches,
Yeah.
either slot mags, Kragers, or center lines.
Yeah.
That was your look, and go wild with your paint. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, and they're a canvas to do what you want. That's one thing with them, those nice big square sides. You can do graphics within that panel on the side. You can do two-tones, single tones. They look good done so many ways, so you can personalize them real easily.
And this is not a takedown or hit against any of the airbag larger wheel trucks now that are dragging the rockers on the ground. I really appreciate all the money and the time and the work that goes into building one of those, especially when you're considering you're basically lifting the bed up, God knows how much, to make
the suspension system,
to make everything work. And they're just an amazing build. Most of them have LS motors now. I've even seen a diesel in one.
Yeah,
seen a Cummins in one, and they're great. I just worry that you spend 10 years building to that trend, and what happens if the trend changes in 2 years?
Yeah,
then
it's one
you're
of
kind of
those
stuck with something.
And if that's the style you like, build it. Go for it. It's cool. It's cool. You see them running around.
You look at the two of us, you can tell what era we're into. For God's sakes, I'm wearing a Van Halen shirt. I mean, we're kind of throwbacks anyhow, really.
Yeah,
so it's people look at groups of people like us, and they're like, yeah, these guys are going to have something old in stock, and that's just how it's going to look.
And that you said stock too. You look at Frank, the mascot. He's pretty much stock.
Yeah.
But it's great because you go to a truck show or a hangout, and you're one of maybe one or two vehicles that are stock. Most of them have been done up, and you see more stock long beds. When was the last time you saw a totally stock short bed?
Never.
I mean, you just don't see them anymore. No. So I mean, building one like that was maybe, again, just maybe a 2.2 drop or something like that, just a little bit, you go, boy, you just don't see those.
No, those are becoming few and far in between these days.
A stock set of just either hubcaps, or even if it had rally wheels, but hubcaps and white walls, just stock. Wow, you don't see too many.
The aftermarket's done a really, really good job of supporting these pickups. And you even brought this up a while back. It's almost like they're so plentiful and so inexpensive. They're like the new Volkswagen, really.
Yeah, you have those cars that you could find relatively inexpensive for a long time. And, all Volkswagens were there. Fox-bodied Mustangs. Look at how many those were around, and everybody built one. The aftermarket was so good on those.
They were the late 80s, early 90s version of the 69 Camaro. Really.
Yeah, they ran hard. They were cheap to get. They were easy to work on. Well, it's the same kind of thing with these trucks, that you can still have the vintage feel and vibe with, like we said, the amount of aftermarket support. You've got a good platform. If you want to do an LS swap, they're easier to do that.
Nice,
there's one right there.
Classic looking. I hope that the camera catches that as we're going by. It's a nice, probably a 78 being a Big 10.
Yeah, that's a cool option.
Yeah, very much so.
Like that. That one had rally wheels on it, was lowered a little bit. It looked nice. You can make them look a lot of different ways. Like we said, they're a canvas that's totally open, and they're fun to build. They're easy to work on.
Probably the easiest vehicle in the world to personalize, because there's something made for everybody.
Pretty much.
For every single taste that's out there. If you want to lowrider it, by God, you can. There's ways to go hydraulic on them.
Yeah.
If you want to go air, it's all there. If you want it to be as reliable as your brand new truck, no problem.
Yeah, you have a lot of options.
Are right there.
And like we said, you can, up until recently, especially if it's a short bed, that you could get into the initial purchase of these pretty cheap, because that's the key. How much are you going to do to something that you have to spend a ton to get into?
Right.
And if you're only spending, somebody's got one of these sitting in their shed or on the side of a house, and it's been there for years, and you pick it up for $500 or $1,000 or something like that, and you really don't need to do a lot to them to make them cool.
No.
And even if it's a long bed, you know, which we have,
Still
we
have
like them.
long beds still have their charm.
Their appeal is still there. Everything
I know I
else
sound like
still
I'm being
works.
defensive here, but Frank, we love you.
Yeah, but you know, again, you pick one up, somebody gives you one, or you get it really cheap. It's a cool cruising machine that you can still drive around and cruise.
It's
And,
100%.
You know, it's easy to work on. They're fun to drive, even if you just leave. Heck, even if you just left the stock straight 6 in it.
Yeah, now the short bed I'm putting together, the GMC, if money ever allows for it, I would like to make it something I could actually take on road trips, something with an LS motor in it, with late model digital air conditioning, like a what do you call it, a
Vintage air
unit, or
yeah.
you know, vintage auto air, whichever one, because they fit right into those and they work extremely well and they don't require any vacuum, which you gotta like. And they even make power window motors that run much more efficiently than the factory power windows like that truck has. So there's a lot of things I'd like to do where you could just hop in if you wanted to drive to Moab and go, you know, tour the southwest of the United States. It's going to be as reliable as your new Tahoe. If I ever
you
did that.
can make them.
Yeah. Boy, Virginia City, this is something else, isn't it?
It's nice up here, and it's nice to be up here during the week when there's nobody up here.
Yeah. If I'd had a license on Frank, I would have brought him up here, but he's been having some flooding issues lately. So we're dealing with some quadrajet problems, which pretty much every Chevy guy in the world has had some sort of quadrajet problem at some point. And anyhow, we're going to stop and kind of hang around Virginia City just because it's a fun place. So we'll catch up with you next time. We'll probably wind up chatting about music or whatever, but thanks for stopping in. We're glad you joined us. Have a good one.